Okay everyone, so I have zipped all of our layers, and now as you can see the memory consumption is down pretty much by half from where it was originally. Now we can start adding details, so I'll go and create an empty layer, and now I'll click Convert. Right, now we have to click this button here to enter the sculpt mode. And now, when I go and paint a stroke with the brush, you will see that nDo will automatically convert it into a normal map. But the colors will look slightly off, so what we have to do is we have to leave the sculpt mode by clicking here, and now they will look correct. Okay, so let's remove those changes, and now let's reduce the size of the brush a little bit. Let's zoom in, and what I'm gonna do is I will start painting in some kind of scratches on the surface of the door. I'll just use some very subtle strokes with my tablet, and I'll just try to keep them very small and thin. I'll just keep placing them randomly, like this, but I'll add them very sparingly. We don't want to have too many, because otherwise the result won't be too realistic. So again, just keep on adding some subtle strokes in some random areas. And now let's try to zoom in, and let's preview the result. Now as you can see, we have something in there, but it looks like they are pointing in the opposite direction, so we have to go and change this slant to down. Okay, now I would like to change the settings of this layer, but before we do that we have to exit the sculpt mode because our normal maps are not displayed correctly. Okay, and now let's go and let's change the settings of nDo. Basically I think those normals look too strong, so what I'm gonna do is I'll try to make them maybe slightly bigger but less intense. So I'll go and change the bevel to emboss, and this will essentially make them a bit thicker. Okay, I think that might actually work. Now let's go and let's lower the depth even more. I'll just keep reducing this setting until I'm happy with the result. Maybe let's try something lower, like this. Okay, that actually seems to work. You can see that when we don't shine the light on the surface, we actually don't see the scratches. Now let's change the shape to chiseled to make it look like they have been punched in with a sharp object. And maybe let's reduce the size down to 1. Okay, that will give them some sharpness. Yeah, I think that looks fine. Yeah, as I move the light around, you'll see that they appear and disappear, and this will give us some cool effects. Now we can also get some more precision with adjusting the depth of the layer by reducing the opacity. I think this will work even better. Okay, basically the key to adding those kind of details is to keep them very subtle and to slowly layer more and more of them, and that's what we're gonna do. So now let's zoom in, and what I'm gonna do is I'll add some scratches along the edges. So I'll create a new layer, convert it, and again I'll change the slant down so they actually point inside, and now we're gonna paint in some details with the brush. Okay, so now I'll just keep on making some subtle strokes again, and what I'm gonna do is I'll try to paint them in such a way that they don't go across multiple elements of our normal map. So I'll keep them only on one side of the door and not the other. Same with the frames and so on. So I'll just keep on adding those strokes, and I'll try to vary them in size and intensity by pressing my pen very lightly. And I'll also add them to those smaller elements as well. I'll just try to make them very, very small. Now, if you make some mistakes, you can also go and choose the eraser brush, and you can remove the unwanted details by making some subtle strokes. Now, here we have a stroke that goes across 2 elements, and I'll show you why it's bad. So let's preview it. And now it seems like this whole scratch was made by someone on purpose using a great force. So what I'm gonna do is I will go and remove this bit, and I'll try to make it so it stops at the edge of the handles. Right, so now let's preview the results. Okay, let's wait a second for nDo to update the viewport. And yeah, now it seems like this scratch makes a lot more sense. Okay, but one more thing I don't really like is how they blend with the elements. So what I'm going to do is I'll change the blend mode from normal to overlay, and this will work essentially like the overlay blending mode in Photoshop. And now you can see that our scratches seem a lot weaker and they seem to actually follow the surface underneath them. Okay, yeah, so let's have a look. And as you can see, even though those details are quite tiny, they add quite a lot of character to the way our door is lit. Right, so now that you get the basic idea, I'll skip ahead and I'll add some more damage to our door. Essentially, I will try to only add scratches and little dents. We'll be adding some more details later on after we create our diffuse, and we'll basically use our diffuse layers to generate some more damage.